Okay, so solving by systems of elimination. Essentially what we're doing, we're stacking these problems on top of each other now, trying to get rid of them, okay? And we want to focus on what comes easiest. So looking at this first one, we have a negative 2y and a plus 2y, right? So those cancel each other out. So we write them on top. I find it's easy to do a box, okay? Let me tell you why I do the box. When I do the box, I know I'm just focusing on the x's. The y's don't matter. Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay, from here, now we're going to add, all right? X plus 5x is 6x. Negative 18 plus 1, negative 18. Any questions so far? Let me see thumbs up or down. Okay, all right, good. Anna? Good? Okay. Now from here, we know how to solve this, right? We've done this problem a million times. So we divide by 6, x equals negative 3. Okay? So, stack them on top of each other. We're trying to eliminate a variable. Sometimes it's right in front of us. Look at our do now. Is this one right in front of us?
Yeah.
Which one?
X.
Yes. What about this one?
Y.
Yep. What about this one?
Y.
5y. Very good. Very good. Okay. So, once we figure out what the x is, okay, we go into the top formula, plug in x and go and solve for it, okay? So, I'm taking this, writing it, put a line underneath it. Anna, what am I doing next with that x? Substitute? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take the negative 3, I'm going to put it in here. I have a question. What if this was negative? It'd be negative, parentheses, negative 3. We use the parentheses if it's a negative. Understood? And you'll get into plenty of those. There's not in this case. It's the first number. It becomes negative 3. Bring down the rest of the problem. Then we go ahead and solve for it. We're solving for y, right? So we're going to add 3 to both sides. Negative 19 plus 3, negative 16. Bring down the negative 2y. Do not forget to bring this negative down. If you don't, you're going to get the problem wrong. Okay? Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. This is a negative. This is negative. Positive 8. We're done. Last step, state the ordered pair. Okay? Negative 3, negative 8. Any questions?
So when we're going to do substitution, do we pick any of them? Any of the equations?
You can, however, make it easy for yourself. Like, you know what I could have done? I could have multiplied all this by negative 5. But I just created 3 problems. Why? When it's already done for me. So as we go through these, I'll show you what I pick and why. Are we good so far?
Where did that 3 come from?
We solved. So these y's took care of itself because it's positive 2y, negative 2y, which is 0, right? Cancels out. We take 5x. What's in front of this x we can't see?
1.
1. So 5 and 1 is 6. Negative 19 plus 1, negative 18. Then we divide both sides by 6 because ultimately we're trying to get x by itself, right? So after we divide, it gets to 6 by itself. Negative 18 divided by 6, x equals negative 3. Now, when we're done, we just go into the top equation and plug this back in and substitute. So we're leaving this part of the problem alone, taking this negative 3, plugging it in right here, and then solving for what our y is. Now we have our ordered pair. Okay? Pretty easy, right? It does get more complicated. Let's look at the next one. Okay. How would we, just not looking at this, how would we start that one? What do you think's the easiest thing to do here? Go.
Multiply negative 1.
Yes, multiply by negative 1. Either one?
Yeah.
Yeah, either one because they're both positive. So let's back up a little bit. We're trying to eliminate a variable, right? We have 4y, we have 4y. Both of them are positive, right?
Yeah.
So if we multiply all of this, and you have to do all of it, you have to put all of it in parentheses, multiply the negative 1 by everything that's in there, we're going to have our y's cancel each other. Let me see thumbs up or down. Okay, positive y, positive 4y, positive 4y. How do we get rid of it? We want 1 to subtract, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we're going to multiply one of these, the entire thing, by negative 1. Then we're going to be able to cancel out. Got it? Okay, so now we're going to go through the steps. I picked the bottom one. No particular reason except the numbers are smaller. Okay? We could have multiplied the top. We would have got the same answer. It wouldn't have mattered. Okay, so I take all of this and I put it in parentheses, okay? Then I multiply all of this in here by negative 1. All of it means every term, okay? This term, this term, this term, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2x. Negative 1 times 4, negative 4y. This is why we did it, right? To cancel our y's. Negative 1 by positive 8, negative 8. Then I follow all the same steps. I stack them on top of each other. Go.
I don't get it.
Positive 4y, positive 4y. How do we get rid of one of those y's? Well, what's the opposite of plus 4y? Negative 4y. Right. That's why I'm multiplying the entire thing by negative 4 to get rid of the y. Following?
No.
4y, 4y. We add these together, or 8y, right? We're trying to get rid of one of the variables. If we multiply by negative, we'd have negative 4y, right?
Oh, wait, what? You're multiplying negative 2 by 4y?
Look at your 4's. Aren't they the same?
Yeah.
Okay, how do I get rid of 4y?
Take one?
Yeah. So if I take this entire thing and multiply it by negative 1, it changes the sign to negative 4y, right? Okay, that allows me to eliminate them and focus on the x's.
But why?
Because it's elimination. We're trying to eliminate one of the variables.
I don't get it.
Elimination, we're trying to eliminate a variable, right? We're trying to eliminate one of these so we can solve for the other one. Plug it back in and solve for the ordered pair.
Where did you get 6?
Which one?
For the first one.
What's 5x plus x?
Oh, okay. X is the one.
Yes. Do you have to agree with this? No. You just need to do it. Okay. 2 positive 4y's. So looking at this equation, the easiest thing for me to eliminate are these y's. Okay? So if I take one of these and I multiply all this by negative 1, it changes the sign. Right? What's a negative times a positive?
But where'd you get negative 1 from?
Positive 4y, positive 4y. What do I need to multiply a positive by to get a negative? Negative 1, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm doing here. So I put all of this in parentheses, and I multiply all this by negative 1. So negative 1 times negative 2x, negative by a negative, positive 2x. Negative 1 times positive 4y, negative 4y. Negative 1 times positive 8, negative 8. Right?
So you just did all that just to make them positive?
To eliminate the y's. Now I can solve for my x's. Yeah. So these eliminate. Don't even have to focus on them. I'm adding 3 plus 2, which is what?
5.
And 18 minus 8, which is? Divide by 5, divide by 5, x equals 2. So it's actually easier in a sense. Because you're not taking a bunch of equations and plugging them in for one another. You're just eliminating a variable. As long as you're keeping it balanced, your numbers are correct, you're going to come out with the right answer. Now, notice this. We know what our x is, right? So we're going to go into the next equation. It really doesn't matter. Well, in this case, we're focusing on the one we didn't change, right? Same thing that you did in substitution. So we changed this one, right? So we're going to go back into this one. So we're going to write this, and then we're going to replace our x with 2, okay? So I'm going to write this, draw a line underneath it. I'm going to replace the x and put it in parentheses with 2. Is everyone following me? All this is the same stuff we've been doing all 3 weeks. Right? We have substitution. We know what the x is. We plug it in. Right? From here, we go ahead and solve. 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down the 4y. Bring down the 18. We want the y by itself. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. 18 minus 6, which is 12. Bring down the 4. Divide 4y by 4. 12 divided by 4. There's my y. So my x is 2, my ordered pair, and my y is 3. Let me see thumbs up or down on this. Okay, someone tell me, can you see the pattern now? Yeah. We're trying to get rid of one of the variables, okay? Because these two variables were the same exact number, they were the easiest to get rid of. We just had to take one of the equations and multiply it by -1. Now, by the way, I could have multiplied this one by -1. I still would have got the same answer as long as I followed the right steps. It really doesn't matter. But you want to set yourself up to make things easier, right? These are larger numbers, so if I can use the smaller numbers with a negative, that's what I'm going to do. Okay? Any questions on these two so far? We're good? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now we've got 2x plus y equals 3, and negative y plus 3y equals negative 12. There's no real clear-cut way to solve this one, right? Nothing really jumps out at us. Our y's are different, and our 2's are different, right? It doesn't matter. Just pick one and start going, okay? So what I chose to do, anytime I see a 2x here and I see a minus, that means I can take all this and either multiply it by this top one by 3, negative 3, well, so turn it negative. I can multiply this by 2. This would have made it negative 2x. You see where I'm going with this? There's no clear-cut way to do it. You want to do it whatever's easiest for you to solve the problem, okay? So, my looking at these equations, I see a plus 3y and I see a y, okay? So, I'm going to take this first one, I'm going to multiply it by negative 3. Can someone tell me why I chose negative 3? I already have a plus 3y, right? So if I get a negative 3y, can I eliminate my y's? Someone say yes? Okay. So, distributive property, this is why I put it in parentheses. You do not want to forget. The number one mistake is forgetting. These are multiplied okay, but forgetting to multiply the other side of the equal sign. You've got to multiply everything, and that's why it's a good habit to put it in parentheses. Okay? So you know it's this times this, this times this, this times this. Right? So let's walk through that. 3 times 2, negative 6. 3 times positive y, negative 3y. 3 times 3 is 9, right? Negative, positive. Is everyone tracking so far?
Yeah.
I just did the distributive property, and now I set them up. Get in the habit of doing these boxes. It's not required, but doesn't it make seeing the problem a whole lot easier? When you see that box, you know, okay, I eliminated the y's, I'm good. Now I can just focus on the x's. Negative 6, negative 1 is negative 7. Negative 9 and negative 9, negative 12. We add it together, 21. Then we're going to divide both sides by negative 7. 21 divided by 7, positive 3. We have our x, right? Okay, let me see thumbs up or down. Okay, good. Okay, once we have our x, this is what you have to remember. You go into the equation unmodified, okay? So we modified this one, right? So we're going to go into this one. Does everyone see that? The reason why we don't want to go into the modified question, didn't we change it? We changed the sign of something, right? And if we changed the sign of something, and we were going to plug that in there, we would not get the right answer. So we want to go into the one that wasn't changed, okay? So we write it, draw a line. The reason why we do this is so we can see the original formula before the substitution, okay? So we take our 3 and plug it in here. Oh, look at this example. Negative x. It's 3, right? We don't want to forget that negative. So this becomes negative 3 plus 3y equals negative 12. So this x replaces this 3. Now what if this was a negative 3? It'd be in parentheses, and it'd be a negative by a negative, and it would turn into positive 3. Okay, so anytime you have this outside here, do not forget that. That matters. Okay? Okay, now that we have this in here, we can go ahead and solve. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides because we want y by itself. Negative 12 plus 3, negative 9. Bring down to 3. Divide both sides by 3. Y equals negative 3. Last thing we're going to do is put this in order of pair. We know what our x is. We know what our y is, right? 3, negative 3. Okay? The next one's the hardest. Or maybe the last one. Maybe the last one's the hardest. Okay. Good so far? How did I know to multiply that by the negative 3? I just got to eliminate one, right? Look, I could have taken this. I could have multiplied this by 2. Multiplied all this by 2. It would have given me a negative 2x and a positive 2x, and I could have eliminated those. Or I can deal with the y's. I have both y's. They're positive here. So for me to get a negative 3y, I multiplied everything by the negative 3. Okay? You can choose whatever you think is easiest. Just make sure that you multiply the entire thing across. Okay? Now, we're going to get into numbers that don't make a whole lot of sense sometimes. This one does, but the last one won't. So looking at this example, isn't this very, 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 very similar to the one we just did? Isn't it, I venture to say, identical? And what are my answers? Exactly the same, right? So that's the example I'm trying to show you. we'll go through this. If you follow all the steps, you're going to get the right answer, okay? Because if manipulating questions, as long as you're following the right steps, you're going to solve it right. So -3, now look at this one. This time I'm focusing on 2, right? 2x, -2x. Now I'll tell you, in my opinion, this one was easier. Because if I'm 2x, those numbers are fairly small, I'm multiplying by 2, there's not a whole lot going on here, right? But either way was going to result in the same answer. So here's my 2x, I need to get to a -2x, I put this all in parentheses and multiply it out. -2 times -x, -2x, 2 times 3, positive 6y, and 2 times -12, -24. I put the x's in boxes, they eliminate each other. Now I add the y. 6 and 1, 7. 24 minus 3, 21. Divide 7 by both sides, y equals -3. Isn't that the same thing we got up here? Same thing we got up here. Okay, from here, once we have this y, understand, we modified this problem, so we're going into the unmodified one. We're drawing it, putting a line on it, under it, and then we're going to replace this y with our -3. So that -3 going inside parentheses, we do have distributive property here, okay? This is going to be a positive times a negative, it's going to turn this negative. So we want to take care of those parentheses very first step. Dominique, take your headphones out, please.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Okay, once we have this -3, we can start to work on the 2x. We're going to add 3 to both sides. 3 plus 3 is 6. Bring down the 2x. Divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now, notice, we did this problem completely different, right? But we got the same exact answer. Ladies, move up. Come right here and here, please. Grab the notes that are in back. Okay, any questions? This step 2? Okay, so here's my equations, right? Aren't these exactly the same? These problems are the same? Okay. We can approach the problem however we want, whatever's easiest for us, okay? This first approach, I multiply it by -3. This one, I'm multiplying it by 2. Why am I multiplying by 2? I have 2x. If I multiply this -x, I'm going to get -2x's, and the x's are going to eliminate. See that? And you guys are going to get plenty of practice. But I want you to notice, are my answers the same? My answers are the same no matter how I chose to do it. As long as I'm following the steps of orders of operations, we're going to get the correct answer. Okay, stay with me on this one. This is the hardest one. Okay? We have -7x minus 12y equals -22. 5x minus 8 equals 12. Is there any clear-cut way to solve this?
Equals what?
7x minus 12y equals -22, and 5x minus 8y equals -14.
You said 12.
Okay. Thank you. Yes?
Don't you have to make them divisible by each other?
Yes, that's what I want to talk about. So here's our choices, right? This becomes to like common denominators, right? Where 7 and 5, we could go to 35. There's going to be no numbers in between that we can pick. But these two are divisible by each other, right? So if I use 24, I'm able to keep my numbers down, right? Because 12 goes into 24 and 8 goes into 24. Does everyone see that? Now don't worry about this. If you struggle with finding something that's divisible, do the math, okay? You're going to get the right answer. Your numbers are just going to be bigger. So when you can do something divisible, do it. If you know how to do it. Once again, that one's pretty clear. We're focusing on this. There is nothing divisible here, but these two are divisible by each other, so I can focus on this. Gustavo, stay with me, please. Okay, so I'm going to take this equation, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this 12 and 8 to 24. That means I'm going to modify both of them, because I have to. I don't have a choice. Okay? So I'm going to take all these and I'm going to put them in parentheses. What is it going to take for me to get this to 24? well, 12 times 2, right? So that means I'm going to multiply everything inside of here, right? Stay with me, eyeballs. Okay, 2 times 7, 14. 2 times -12, -24. 2 times -22, -44. Is everyone following so far?
Yes.
So now we have our -24, right? Now we need a positive 24. Well, this one's negative, so we know this has to be negative on the outside, right? 8 times 3 is 24. That's going to give us our positive 24. We multiply everything across by that -3. So negative 3 times 5, negative 15x, negative 4 times negative 8, positive 24, and then negative 3 times negative 14, positive 42. Is everyone tracking?
Yeah.
Why are we trying to get 24?
Because we're trying to get 1 to cancel out. And why are we using 24? Well, what's 8 times 12? No, what's 8 times 12? That's a huge number, right? 72? That's a big number to have to work with. So if you could take things divisible, you want to. Okay? Okay, are we good so far? We got 1 to eliminate, right? Put a box around it. That way we know to ignore it. Now we're going to focus on the x's, Gustavo. So we see our x's. This is pretty easy, right? We're 14, we're 15. Turn the ringer off, please.
Wait, Mr. Peter,
Yes.
did you say right now 12 times 8 equals 72?
No.
Why did you say equals 72?
I don't remember. It didn't matter in the problem. Like we could took 7 times 5, which is 35, but that's a bigger number than 24, right? So, or we could have taken 12 times 8, right? 96?
Yeah.
That's a huge number to be dealing with, right?
You said 72 though.
Are you?
Yeah,
Oh,
you did
well,
say
at least you're listening.
I
like
am, and
12
you're saying
times
everything
8 or
wrong. You're
something.
confusing me.
If that part's confusing you, then we're in deep trouble.
No, because I didn't understand
Can-
everything
can-
else. It's
can-
just
can
that
I
you
move
said-
on? Can I move
yeah.
on? Okay, see how the 24s cancel themselves out? Now we're going to just add these together, right? We have 15, 14. That's negative x. Why is it negative x?
Because that's negative 1 and negative x would equal to negative 1.
Right, and we don't write it as negative 1x, right?
True.
Right. Okay, negative 42, negative 44, 42, negative 2. Now, we can't have a negative variable, right? So we're going to divide by negative 1, and that's going to turn it x equals 2. Now we have one of our variables, right? But look at what happened here. We modified both equations, right? When it comes to modifying the equation, this is the step that's important, okay? You're going to go into one of the equations. I'm choosing the smaller numbers, unmodified. You're not taking it from here. What it ends up resulting, you're taking it from here. Because if you did, there's no way we're going to get the right number. So we're going to take this equation. Does everyone understand why I'm choosing this one? Numbers are smaller, okay? I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to substitute my x in there. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. X is going to go inside parentheses, and I'm going to solve it, okay? So 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to bring down the negative 8y, bring down the 14. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. That's 14 and 10 equals negative 24. Bring down the negative 8y. Remember to divide by negative 8. Divide by negative 8. Make sure y positive, so y equals 6. So our ordered pair in this case is 2 and 6. Do we see that? These are the hardest ones you're going to have. So when you get to one like this and it doesn't just jump out at you, think about what is divisible or what are the smaller numbers I can multiply to get rid of one. Is that clear? Gustavo, you okay? Liza. Okay, let's look at the do now. Now the do now is actually easier because I made it fairly simple for you, right? Your x's eliminate. So rewrite these on top of each other, make a box, solve for your y's. This one right here. Don't these y's take care of themselves? So put a box around it, solve for them. This one right here. What takes care of itself? The y's. Yeah. Turn it off, please. Hazel, what sucks, and hear me out, I'm recording the lecture, it's going online on YouTube. Are you understanding that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to get these 3 questions done. Okay, turn in for your do now, separate sheet of paper. You want to have the notes done, and then behind your notes is the worksheet. You want to get started on the worksheet. Okay? Any questions on this? Okay, what can you do to help yourself if you're struggling with this? Yes, what else? Got it? Come in before or after school, get tutoring, and watch the lecture again. Sometimes it helps to go through it slower. Okay? Are we good? Okay, awesome.